Trigger warning. Viewing the following content may cause intellectual strain and swelling of logical capacity. If you suffer from perpetual rectal discomfort, viewer discretion is advised.
I have another document here that shows educational attainment over the last few years. I believe this is from 1960 to 2021. You can see a fairly steady climb in educational attainment, right?
Yeah.
And what they refer to as educational attainment is high school graduation rates, right? But what does that mean? What does high school graduation mean in terms of what children are graduating school in terms of actual knowledge and abilities?
Yeah.
Right? So that to me I think is a bigger concern. You know, what do you think, looking around at the peers that you've known, the people that you've seen, the ones that came before you,
Yeah.
you know, and the ones that you're currently going to school with, what do you think about, you know, their educational attainment? What do you think are the factors that are influencing them? Are they actually making higher, you know, attainments than previous generations? You know, try to elaborate a little bit on that.
Okay, so I would say that education is I feel like anybody would agree, education is very different from what it used to be nowadays. Nowadays, I feel like the goal for your average student is to get through the day, you know, and I feel like that is expected from somebody, I'd say anywhere from 6th grade and under. I feel like high school is where you really got to start, like, okay, you know, enough messing around, I got to focus on what I want to do or whatever. But it's just really get through the day, get by it, not necessarily excel, you know, do your best. That's the attitude that, from what I've seen, most people have towards it. Now, that being said, obviously not everybody is like that, you know. There are exceptions. There are people who still strive their best, and they have dreams and things they want to accomplish and colleges they want to go to. But for the most part, it's just people who want to get the bare minimum done, who just want to, you know, finish school and do whatever. They don't necessarily have any idea of what they're going to do afterwards. They just want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable statement to make. I think you know, your firsthand experience is something that cannot be discounted.
Yeah.
I think there's more to it than that. You know, from an adult perspective, from a parent's perspective.
Well, I guess the only thing I would add on is they just don't necessarily want to be there in the first place.
I think that could be said. Obviously, when you're making generalities, that doesn't apply to everybody.
Yeah.
I'm going to share a document here. This is a study done. This is done, let's see if I could come up with a date, back in September of 2020. It refers to educational experiences with Generation Z. Now, in the abstract, the one thing that stood out to me is students of Generation Z are authentic digital natives who are hypercognitive. Now, to me, that kind of says a lot, right? Because it's basically a clear acknowledgement that your generation is kind of born into technology.
Yeah,
and it just kind of it's such an important part of your life that it's difficult to make direct comparisons to other generations.
Yeah, because I know people bring up, well, you know, millennials had the internet, but the thing is, they had when millennials, you know, had access to, you know, the internet and that kind of stuff, they were already almost adults. You know, they hadn't grown up with it all available to them. We had, like, Zoomers have made internet technology, their phones, all that, such an important, not like something that's just, they're not just accessible, but important part of their daily lives. it's gotten to the point where, people need to have their phone. Like, that's the mentality someone Zoomers have.
Yeah.
And I could understand that. And I'm sure you guys, wanted to have a phone with you, but it's like for the wrong reasons. People want to have their phones so they can do whatever, so they can go online and stuff.
Well, I think the tendency to kind of see the negatives is part of human nature,
Yeah.
and the negatives usually scream out the loudest.
Yeah.
But I think there's also some positive aspects to your generation that need to be acknowledged. And that study that I was referring to in the conclusions, they really pointed out something significant that I think is a plus for your generation.
What would that be?
It says, in this review, the relationships and preferences of Gen Z students with technology is presented.
Mm-hmm.
Besides, some technologies with a significant impact on Gen Z education were identified. Virtual and augmented reality, 3D printing, artificial intelligence, holograms, portable devices, virtual laboratories, and blockchain. In some cases, applications including combinations of various technologies. From an extensive literature review and our own experience, we identified innovative projects and or leading projects highlighting the advantages, disadvantages, and the type of skills and abilities that can be developed in different domains. That really, they kind of really delved into what does all of this really mean for your generation?
Yeah.
All of this access to technology can really, render positive benefits, but it could easily render a whole lot of negative. And I think what we're seeing is pretty much indicative of every technological breakthrough that has ever occurred throughout history. All technology is kind of reflective, or the use of technology is kind of reflective of society as a whole. And it kind of comes down to, people who have good intentions and good ideas will use technology to the best of their abilities. People who are at the lower end of the intelligence spectrum, and people who don't make wise decisions, will use technology to facilitate their poor decisions and engaging in their frivolous and pointless actions. So, I think that you could kind of see that in your generation.
Yeah, and I mean, that being said, my generation only spans from, I believe, what is it? My generation, you're either about 13 to 26 right now, or 11 to 26.
I believe it is 11 to 26.
So, since they have access to the technology, and, not even statistically, but just scientifically, it's basic biology that, teenagers are not the smartest people. We make rash decisions, especially Gen Z. Gen Z is known for being very in the moment and for, making rash decisions, So it would make sense that how they use technology might not be the best way when it comes to the younger side. But I mean, absolutely, there are, there's pros and cons to everything, especially when it comes to technology. And yeah, we've made some interesting advancements in technology as it is, and that's great. But in this case, does the bad outweigh the good? Like with AI, a lot of people are concerned about the problems AI can bring.
Well, I mean, all the movies have basically told us that AI is going to kill us. So
yeah,
if you go by, popular opinion, AI is definitely, going to be the end of humanity. I think there have been certain instances where the responses of AI to certain situations have been deeply disturbing.
yeah,
But again, just like any other technology, the assumptions and the information that is fed into it
yeah,
is fed into it by people.
yeah,
And people have perspectives, they have ideologies, and the information they provide is usually what aligns with their perspective and ideologies. and you end up having AIs that tend to reflect what those people believe.
Yeah, but that's like the big question is it good or is it bad? You know, because you have kids, like I've seen it myself, the Snapchat AI that they recently released. Going with school, people are using this to their advantage to just not do their work.
Well, again, are people taking advantage of technology to improve themselves, or are they reflecting their personalities by using technologies to take a shortcut and cheat?
But yeah, it obviously would reflect the person they are.
Right, because you can use AI to become kind of like a training to help you become a better writer,
Yeah, yeah.
or to help you understand complicated concepts. It's kind of a douchebaggery kind of way to be if you just use AI to copy and paste.
Yeah, and in the long run, you don't learn anything, and you're just likely to be unsuccessful as it is. You're not really learning anything from it.
Now that really comes back to education, right?
Yeah.
So Gen Z and their results in education. I think it's kind of a mixed bag across the board, because
Yeah.
technology has definitely enabled some of Gen Z to really just knock it out of the box. But there's also a percentage of Gen Z that has really, really suffered.